It's cracking. Welcome to Griffin and Bass. He's Griffin. I'm Bass. Before we dive into everything that happened in preseason week 1 between the Lions and the Falcons, the overreactions, the AP poll getting dropped for college football, got to remind you guys to like and subscribe everywhere you can find us. That'd be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We got full episodes on YouTube as well as DetroitSportsNation.com. All right, Ryan. Game 1, preseason, in the books. The Detroit Lions fell to the Atlanta Falcons at home, 27-23. Now, most of us know that the wins and losses really don't matter, considering the year the Lions went 0-16. They went 4-0 in the preseason. So, who cares if you win or lose a game? It's more about finding out what you got. So, I'd like to give you the chance to go first as far as telling me what stuck out to you from this first showing of this group of Lions.
The offense looked good. The first team offense did. They went down on their only possession that we saw Jared Goff on, and then they went and scored a touchdown in pretty easy fashion, if I remember correctly. And then the defense gave up a touchdown too. So I think a lot of what we expected, right? The offense should be pretty good. The defense is going to be pretty bad. We wanted to see Aiden Hutchinson. We did see him. He had the tackle for loss, obviously, and then he drew a holding penalty as well. With the tackle for loss, I didn't think the tackle on the offensive side put up really any type of a fight. But, Aiden got there, he made the play, and Pro Football Focus rated him as the highest rated defensive rookie in week 1 of the preseason. So that was cool to see. DeAndre Swift looked good. He obviously had the nice touchdown run, and then the offense had a real nice mix of pass and run. I think it was 60-40 or something for at least for that first possession. I think there's 10 or 11 plays run, and it was 6-5 or 6-4 or something like that. Real balanced, which obviously you like to see too. And I think that was really about it. They had the same old Lions loss, I guess, at the end where Desmond Ridder just came down and threw the game winning touchdown. One thing that I think you might actually be able to take away from the preseason, because it's something that we've seen before, and just looking at the way this defense shapes up, I think it's something that we'll probably see all weekend, is Desmond Ridder did give them a lot of trouble because he's a mobile quarterback. So with the way that he can move and with the way that a lot of quarterbacks can move in the NFL, I expect the Lions to have a real problem with some of these mobile guys, and we're going to find that out right away in week 1 when they play Jalen Hurts, who can really move it, or who can really move. So I just don't know. I don't think that that's something that's going to be really fixable from what we saw from the Lions. And then I think that was about it, man. Aiden Hutchinson, again, played pretty well. The offensive line played well. Good showing from what we saw of the first team offense. But I do have, I was concerned about the defense, obviously, to start the season. And now that we've seen it in fruition, I think this is a problem that's going to be consistent throughout the year.
Yeah. Now, again, first team was only out there for so much on both sides of this. So, take some of the stuff that we're saying and seeing with a grain of salt, but the defense was terrible last year, and it could really only go up as far as we know. We hope. I don't know how it can get worse. If it does get worse, we're in real trouble here in Detroit. But it was not exactly what you said. Seeing the first team go out and go right down the field, 10 plays, bam. Now our defense, first team defense, gives up a 12-play drive to answer right away, and so Atlanta's first team went right down the field. And then after that, it was just, okay, let's just throw everyone out there that's wearing a jersey, and let's see what we got. It was some nice showings from the rookies. I'm surprised that Hutchinson's 3 tackles, 1 for loss, was the highest rated out of all the rookies. I don't think he was in there that long, so he only had that minimal effect. So it's kind of funny to me that little play is what got him to be the top-ranked rookie defensively for the week. Kirby Joseph out there, 7 tackles, 5 of them solo, led the entire team in tackles. So 2 rookies getting the job done for Detroit on the defensive side of the ball. But again, our defense is where, we blew the game. Now, our offense gave the game away, obviously. It's a third-string quarterback that fumbles the ball on his own, 33-yard line. But our defense obviously didn't hold that. And initially we had taken that lead 23-20, forced a 3-and-out by the Falcons, and things are looking all right. And then we do a same old Lions kind of reference, exactly what you said. But these are quarterbacks that aren't going to play unless something happens to Jared Goff. So again, it's take it for what you will. And now we're hearing rumors that, Mason Rudolph might be, coming to Detroit or something.
I saw that.
So I guess Pittsburgh's making their decisions that it's going to be Mitch or it's going to be Kenny, and it ain't going to be Mason. They've had Mason for a few years. He's just never really lived up to it. So I don't know how excited you're going to get about it. I liked him at Oklahoma State. I thought he was dope at Oklahoma State, but
I think he's bad.
Yeah, I didn't see anything good.
But I saw the report, and let me actually bring it up here and give credit because that's a topic in Detroit this week. So I want to make sure that we are giving the correct gentleman. Yeah,
we don't just come up with this stuff. Folks. We read stuff.
No. Andrew Filippani is what I saw earlier. A former NFL GM told me he thinks Mason Rudolph could be traded to the Lions by the end of the week, was Mr. Filippani's tweet. So I just want to make sure we get that sourced out correctly.
Okay, so if Mason Rudolph is coming to Detroit, you've got David Blau, who went 18 of 28 for 141 yards. About 5-yard average, nothing, no touchdowns, no picks. And then you had Tim Boyle, who was 9 of 16 for 111 yards, a little bit deeper throws on his part, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So which one of those two you dropping in favor of Mason Rudolph, Ryan, if you have the choice?
I think Boyle is a little bit better than Blau. I don't know that it matters so much, so I would drop Blau in favor of Mason Rudolph. But I mean, either flip a coin. Neither are good.
Who fumbled at the end? I can't remember. You got Boyle and Blau.
Well, Boyle's the third string,
okay.
So I would assume it was Boyle.
Okay. So Boyle and was it Blau that had the deep pass that the defender was looking probably his pick, but since he wasn't, it was a great catch, like in the second quarter, right down the sideline. I'm guessing that was Blau.
I think that might have been Boyle too.
Oh. He's just getting all sorts of confusion. So there was no we're going to start with Goff and then ride Blau for a while, and then we'll let Boyle finish it up. It was we're going back and forth and taking turns of them coming in to see who's doing what.
I'm done. Yeah, I guess don't quote me on it. But when I saw the tweet that was like the pass of the preseason, I thought it was Boyle's name that that was mentioned on that video.
I'm trying to see myself here. Get that live look up for you here, live for us, a day behind for y'all.
Right. Maybe it was Blau because I typed in Boyle or I typed in Boyle.
Yeah, so it was Blau that fumbled. So Blau was the one who fumbled in the fourth. But I don't know if it was Blau or Boyle. I thought it was Blau that threw the pass too. I don't know for sure. Now we have to go back and look. But while you're looking that up, Mason Rudolph coming in, if he comes in, doesn't change anything for the Lions. It's this isn't. He's shown already. He's had time, unless something drastically changes in his head all of a sudden and he turns into a superstar while being in Detroit. I don't see that happening. So he's had some time in Pittsburgh to show that he can be a number one quarterback, and he's not shown that. So this move is just kind of like a shuffling that's not going to have much effect on the team going forward.
I mean, you wouldn't think it would have much effect on the team. I do think that there is value in getting a better backup than what we currently have, because I think Mason Rudolph is better than both Blau and Boyle, and I think both those guys are pretty pathetic backups when it comes to NFL backup quarterback standards. Not that the Lions are probably going to do much of anything this year. Anyway, I think even the most optimistic fan has them winning 9 games. A 9-8 is not something to write home about in the NFL. But I think they should still have just a better backup quarterback, because if things do happen, and I guess you hit all the ceilings that you can, especially on offense, where you have a great offensive line, you hope you have a great running game, then a lot more quarterbacks can succeed behind that. And while Goff is still better than what Mason Rudolph is, if if your goal is to win games, which is the Lions' goal, right? They're not going out here trying to tank for like a high pick. Like the Lions want to win. Most people just don't think that that's going to happen. But if you do, and it's certainly the team's goals, and if you're trying to get to the goal of winning football games, then having Mason Rudolph as a backup to Jared Goff, if something were to happen to Goff, helps you, like improves your chances of winning those football games. So from that standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world to me.
I was just laughing because you said the 9 and 8 is the highest you've seen. Have you seen some of our fans on these different media platforms? You got people out there saying 12, 13 wins for the Lions, and that Jared Goff's about to be fighting for MVP.
12 or 13.
It's insane. People out there nuts. But
no, I haven't seen that. I've heard people say 9 to 10 wins though. But like that's the highest I've seen it go.
We got some crazy people out there. I'm telling you. All right, so you gave props to Hutch. Absolutely. He did his thing early on, knocked Mariota out of bounds early on after a bit of a gain, stopped the play in the backfield for a loss, drew a holding penalty as well. So, he looked pretty comfortable enough. We got to see our O-line that they actually want to have out there in Detroit for the first time because it never happened last year. So we got to see Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow, Vaitai, and Sewell out there all together, which was the first time that's happened.
We did, but Vaitai left practice today with like an undisclosed injury.
Well, at least you got to see it for a hot minute.
It could have just been tweaked, or something like that. So we don't know if it's serious. We don't know if he had to go to the bathroom, I guess. But he did he did leave practice today, which was sort of the big Lions news of the day. Maybe there's an update on it. I just saw Kyle Meinke tweet out earlier that they had lost Vaitai for practice today.
Well, at least we can say we got to see them for a hot minute. The star-studded five got to play for at least a blink together and help lead the Lions to an early touchdown in the preseason game because we're probably never going to see them again because staying healthy seems to be a curse in Detroit. Speaking of, I don't know about you, Ryan, but when I saw DeAndre Swift's touchdown, I just shook my head because that fool got cracked right at the line, right at the goal line as he's crossing. He got hit and hit hard, and I'm like, Jesus, this is exactly what we don't need, some kind of hit like that that's just going to take out one of the guys we're actually depending on this season. Now, he's fine, thankfully, but I saw that hit, and I was just like, this is why I don't want these guys playing in the preseason. I know they need reps, but, sometimes just, let someone else take the hit.
Yeah, and so, for me, if you're only going to play the guy as a series in the preseason, is that really, reps that they need? If you're going to say someone needs reps, I would imagine that you play them for, a half, probably. Not that I'm advocating for your starters to play a half of football in a preseason game. I just don't know what, an entire series does for them. It seems like something you can get at joint practice. I understand that the game speed isn't necessarily the same, but even in the preseason, these teams aren't running the same. It's not the same thing that you're going to see in the regular season. Everything's just a very vanilla and kind of basic version of it. So to me, I guess it doesn't make sense, or there's not so much of a difference between getting in one series versus just sitting out all of the preseason games until maybe the last one, where you use it as a tune-up and you play a half or you play 3/4 of the game or something. But putting them in one series in the first preseason game, I don't see the value.
Yeah, I know this has been a fear and concern every year coming into and out of preseason is making it through the preseason healthy. You want to get your guys reps. You want to get them in game shape so that they're ready when the season starts, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to have situations like, God forbid, Zach Wilson. Luckily, it's not everything that we all feared it was, but running down the field, a non-contact injury, you tear an ACL, and now you're out for the year. Now, thankfully, what they're saying was Zach Wilson. It's not that. I don't wish that really on anybody. But it's still, I see that, and it's just what is the point? And especially in our situation, like you're saying, where it's one series, how much is that really helping them for the NFL season as far as getting their bodies ready for an NFL season, getting hit and taking those poundings and being able to keep going through it and not be injured because of it. When you're only in it for a short period of time, it doesn't seem like it's worth the risk versus like what you're saying, playing it, a half or whatever it may be. Again, it's preseason, so none of it's worth anything as far as the games themselves, but you do have to get these guys ready for the NFL season, and you don't want to see these injuries happen. It's just this horrible fine line we have to walk through now, and it's for one less game now, obviously, because it used to be 4 games that we were dealing with all this. Thankfully, it's only 3 now, but again, I'm with you. I don't see the point of just a series. Like, what does it accomplish?
I don't think it accomplishes, again, anything. You obviously get the fans to see it, which is cool for them, but for the team, like, I don't think it's valuable. Like I said, until you commit to playing them a half or three quarters or something. But yeah, now it doesn't matter. Like, especially if it's the type of thing where, like, we won't see Goff the rest of the preseason. And I don't know that we won't. Teams with more established starters have done that, where I think, even one time Stafford was here. He played one series for one of the preseasons and then just sat out the rest of the preseason because he was obviously going to be the starter. And he had played a lot of football up to that point. So, like, especially if it's a case like that, it doesn't make any bit of sense to me.
Yeah, no, with you. And speaking of our own starter, Goff was in for that first series, and that was it. He went 3 for 4 for 47 yards, a little bit longer of a yards per attempt than the captain checkdown nickname that he's been given over the years. So, maybe having some receivers, because he really didn't have much as far as receivers last year. And the expectation this year, obviously, is that he has a much better.
or this year.
There are higher expectations for this receiver core than last year's. I mean, come on. Really?
Yeah, but that's because, like, we know St. Brown is good, and last year he was a rookie, so at the start of the year, of course, you didn't know what you were going to get. And then, you're banking on DJ Chark, who's never been better than, like, an okay number 2 receiver, because Jamison Williams is going to be out for however long, right? And I think the Lions' actual receivers, again, room still isn't very strong, but then you add in TJ Hawkinson, you add in DeAndre Swift, guys who aren't receivers, but they're going to catch passes. And so I think you can have a little bit of excitement for, like, a little more excitement for the offensive weapons that the Lions have. But to just say, like, the receiving core is now like that, I still think is a
I'm not going out there and saying they're one of the top 10, 15 receiving cores in football, like some people out there are saying. I'm saying it's better than last year's. He has better weapons to throw to this year than he did last year. Reynolds joined the team late last year, so we were looking at a whole bunch of bad receivers before Reynolds got there. Amon-Ra was actually one of the bright spots. We were hoping he could be something good. He ended up becoming good eventually at the end of the year, but we didn't see anyone from the throw to. And look, Chark had one really good season. He hasn't backed it up yet, but he showed me in that one season that I'd like to see him stay healthy and see what we can get out of him. And I'm hopeful that he turns the prove-it contract that he's been given of 1 year to turn that into something that might end up being long-term with the Lions if he plays pretty well here, and we can turn it around and see if the offense, can do under, a succinct offense of personnel that know what they're doing and are very capable at it. We haven't had that in quite a long time. So it'll be nice to see. But I couldn't take much away from Goff. It was one series, and it was a nice series, but I've seen plenty of nice series out of quarterbacks before, and it was the only one they had for the game. So I need to see more. I don't know how much more we're going to see out of the preseason with Goff. But it is way too early to make any kind of predictions off of the one game we've seen. But there are plenty of people out there that are throwing out haymakers of craziness when it comes to what they're predicting off of what we've seen through one weekend. So, Ryan, let's get into the overreactions of the preseason already. 1 week, but they're already out there, and, both for our Lions and the rest of the NFL. What are some of your favorites of these crazies?
Oh, man, Trey Lance is the MVP now. We talked a little bit before on the show about Jimmy Garoppolo and how it seemed like they were kind of unceremoniously kicking him out. And even that story came out today, I think on ESPN, where, after he got his big contract, he just like ghosted the coaches and nobody could find him. So, like, I guess with that being said, Trey Lance seemed like he was pretty sweet in his, in his debut there. And if if the Niners are correct, like in their assessment of Trey Lance and why they went up and drafted him, that's it's a Super Bowl looking team.
Well, I mean, and that's what boggled my mind when this move came down, is that the Niners are this far away from making the Super Bowl. They have a very potent and destructive running offense, a very good defense that keeps them in games all the time, and you don't really know for sure how good he is quarterback with Jimmy Garoppolo. His record says he's really good when he's healthy. He's had issues staying healthy. He's had issues making the right reads and throwing the ball to the right spots, but you saw what the Niners were able to do, and they just said, nope, we made our decision last year. It's Trey Lance. This is Trey Lance's team. Now we just got to find some team to get our former quarterback out of here. And so, yeah, I mean, Trey Lance played well against the Packers in the preseason game, and, he was out there for a while, unlike a lot of starting quarterbacks out there, but he's in a completely different situation than most of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Even guys like Mac Jones, and Trevor Lawrence, who, they did this last year. Trey Lance didn't really do this last year. He came in for some gimmicky stuff, with Jimmy G, but it wasn't, here's your team, go run the offense. So now he has to do that, and this is his time to do that. So, yeah, he obviously played well. He played more than I think any other starter at pretty much any position over the over week 1 of the preseason, and he didn't disappoint. But come on now, call someone an MVP or even close to it after one preseason game. Yeah, that's a hell of an overreaction.
Look, dude, he's got the tools to do it. He can run too. We love our MVPs.
Apparently, no more just pocket passers for you.
And there's going to be, a whole lot of wins we expect from San Francisco.
Out of the Niners, yes, not out of the Lions.
No, not out of the Lions. I mean, I don't think the Lions really had any overreactions, honestly. Like, not that I've heard, not that I've seen. Because the one overreaction I guess you would have is like, oh, Aiden Hutchinson's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. But he was already probably like top 3 favorite to do that anyway. And I think most of the Lions fans who are excited about Aiden Hutchinson probably thought he was going to win that award before the first preseason game even happened. And, I mean, that game, of course, didn't do anything to dampen their hopes about that. But I haven't seen anyone, go crazy, even as it regards to the Lions preseason game.
Hang on. You're telling me you haven't seen the hashtag Goff Army out there talking about 75% pass completions, lead them right down the field for a touchdown? No stopping. It's comeback season for.
That happened before. That happened before the first preseason game. And, yeah, you can get your Goff Army in Goff We Trust shirts on Detroit Sports Nation. So go to the website. I'm sure there's a merch link somewhere. They should be up there.
I don't care what anybody says. Obviously it's not going to be Golf Air Force joke was hilarious. But y'all suck. Man can't throw the ball. So why would it be the Air Force? Gotta be the Army.
Buy your shirts. Promo code.
I hope that we got to let them know. Yep. There you go. Promo code Griffin and Bass. We'll make it work for both the ampersand and the AND. So take your pick. We'll have to get that up there.
That'll be a side.
There's going to be a.
Keep it moving.
There's going to be an extra 50% fee on your cart when you check out for putting that promo code in. But the proceeds all go to us, so we appreciate it.
Extra fee.
All right, so Trey Lance, running for the MVP. Let's see, what else did we see from the craziness?
So, we saw Baltimore win 21 preseason games in a row. That's not an overreaction. That's just one of the craziest statistics that I've ever heard in my entire life. Malik Willis, again, just speaking of quarterbacks, because I guess that's probably where the most of the overreaction comes from. Malik Willis had that dazzling play where he's turning around and he ends up running in for the touchdown. His passing numbers were pretty good as well. I think 6'4", 11 for like 107 yards. So lot of yards in the air there for Malik Willis. Apparently Mike Vrabel didn't like what he saw. He said, they pulled him, and he said it's because we wanted him to throw the ball. And obviously he wasn't doing that, but he finished with more yards than his backup, who came in and threw in who threw like 24 times and completed 14 of his passes, and Malik Willis still had more yards than whoever that guy was. And then even Desmond Ridder against the Lions, man, he looked really good outside of one pick that got called back because of the Jared Davis like roughing the passer call. But like Devin Ridder looked really good. Again, it was against the Lions, but he looked pretty good.
And we got other quarterback situations going on. The Baker Sam Darnold situation going on. I mean, that's been. I mean, there's news all the time coming out. You know, that very first practice. Here were Darnold's stats. Here's Baker's stats. It looks, according to the game at least, it's
like Cade and J.J. McCarthy.
But it's looking like Baker is going to be taking that top spot as of right now. Again, we got 2 more weeks of preseason to find out, but it looks like it's Baker that's got a slight edge over Sam Darnold right now for the Carolina starting job. The Pittsburgh starting job, I don't know if we know anything better there yet either between Mitch and now Kenny. Obviously, it's not going to be Mason Rudolph if they're talking about sending his ass out. Yeah. So it's the rookie or it's Trubisky. I'm expecting Mitch is going to be starting at quarterback, this season for Pittsburgh. Yeah. But I also halfway expect that by week 11 we might see Kenny Pickett in the role.
Yeah, so I think you're spot on. I'd be shocked if Mitch wasn't the week 1 starter, but I'd probably be shocked if he was like the week 12 starter.
I mean,
so I think we will see Kenny Pickett take it over. I just don't think it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about what we see with it's the Steelers. The Steelers are expected to be good, whether they're good or not. They just have that, that air about them, that expectation about them from their fan base. They have weapons. I mean, Najee Harris is a hell of a running back, and it looks like George Pickens, right? Is the wide receiver?
Yeah, man. Oh, it's talking about overreactions. Hold on, that's the perfect call out.
I mean, hey, the boy balled out. I mean, taking it to defensive backs, knocking them on their ass. Hell of a catch in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, the dude's balling, and it doesn't matter who's quarterback there for Pittsburgh. When you got someone like that helping out offensively, if he turns out to be that against the number ones, it's a hell of a pickup.
That little shove thing is like his signature too, because I'm pretty sure he did that in the college football playoff against Michigan. Where he told somebody to come here and he just...
What wasn't it? I think it was Daxton. I thought it was Daxton that he knocked on his ass. I think it was Daxton Hill that he knocked on his ass.
Man, well, and I didn't watch the Bengals game, but I saw people on Michigan Twitter talking about Daxton Hill, I guess, looked pretty good in his preseason game against the Bengals. Or with the Bengals. I didn't see it. But obviously, guys like to follow, their college players, especially when they're rookies. So Daxton played well. I actually watched the Steelers game, and Connor Hayward had a nice catch, and he had, I think, a tackle on special teams too. And of course, they're talking about him because he's Cam Hayward's brother. And then I watched that game for Kenneth Walker as well, who I thought ran pretty well, but didn't get a whole lot of opportunities. I think he only had 5 carries, and one of them was for negative yardage. Not his fault. The line just kind of collapsed. So his overall numbers, I think it was 5 carries for 19 yards, and then he had an 11-yard reception too. But I thought he ran better than what his numbers suggested.
I'm trying to think of any of the rookies that we needed to.
And him and Travis Homer split some time.
You edit this part. I'm trying to think.
But yeah, man, Pickens looked unbelievable.
Hell of a coming out party.
They're really good. And that was you're right. Honestly, that's probably the biggest week 1 overreaction because I think that was a nationally televised game. I think that happened on one of the NFL Network games. He just it was an insane catch, and then obviously he had it where he's pushing the guy over. So yeah, all stock up for George Pickens. That after week 1 of the preseason.
All right, I think that's going to do it for overreactions. I can't think of any other big ones that were really worth throwing out there. They're just kind of little dumber ones. So let's jump down to college because the AP poll has dropped. Ryan, I'm trying to think. This looks pretty damn similar to the coaches poll we saw the other week. I'm not seeing much difference between these 2 polls here. At least not inside the top 10.
Except for Texas. Well, I mean, the biggest difference obviously is Texas was in the last poll. I think they were 16th, somewhere around there in the coaches poll, and then in the AP, and with a first place vote, presumably from Steve Sarkisian, their head coach, and then in the AP poll, they're not even ranked.
Are we sure that one vote was not confusion? They thought they were voting for Texas A&M or something. Like they only had so many characters to write in.
Like I said, I think it was probably Sark. But it was funny. They were in the others receiving votes, though. They were second, so they'd be like 27th, right behind Tennessee, who was the top team to receive votes and not be.
All right, so stop me if you heard this one before, but the top three teams in the land, according to the AP poll, are Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. Like, I feel like it's Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, Clemson, take your pick, year in and year out. Maybe LSU sneaks in there every once in a while and then falls back off. But it just seems like it's, Alabama's to lose again. Pick your year and we're in it. Like, it's the same thing, just a different 2020 whatever.
Yeah, I mean, 54 of the 63 first place votes Alabama got.
How does he keep getting away with this? How have they not found anything on this man?
He called last year a rebuild. He called last year a rebuilding year when they won 13-1 and played in the national title and won the SEC. He called it a rebuilding year. And now they're back with the Heisman winning quarterback from last year. So it makes sense, right? They have the best offense. I mean, you could think Bryce Young's the best quarterback in the country. I feel like most people do. And then they still have Will Anderson, who is probably the best defensive player in the country. So you have that. You have a nice little, staple on both ends. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw both those guys, in New York for the Heisman ceremony. I don't know. They're just so good every year. It's hard to bet against them, right? It's like when Tom Brady was on the Patriots and the Super Bowl odds would come out, and the Patriots are always probably in the top three. You're like, well, yeah, it makes sense. Just put some money on them.
I'd rather, I'm going to be more focused on seeing if Bryce Young can become the second to win back-to-back Heismans. Because it's been done once. Archie at Ohio State, Archie Griffin, the only two-time winner of the Heisman. And I'm almost positive it was in back-to-back years. So, Bryce Young having a chance to do something that, only one other person has ever done. If he is the best quarterback for the best team, if Alabama goes undefeated and steamrolls their way to a national championship, I don't see how they don't give it to the quarterback if they're actually throwing the ball a bunch like Alabama's been doing over the last so many years, where they actually started finding real quarterbacks to be quarterbacks of these teams. If it's going to be another one of these years where Alabama just rolls, I'm going to be more focused on, is their quarterback going to win the Heisman for the second time?
Yeah, so the thing that I guess might stop that from happening is apparently Alabama's receiving corps is not as good as it's been the past couple years. I mean, the past couple years has been ridiculous, right? You had John Mechie and Jamison Williams. And I think even
Waddle,
blanking on his name, but I thought he was there last year too.
Just go back like the last 3 years. It's just been ridiculous.
All those guys. And then they gave whoever to Ohio State, Ohio State came there, actually. Other way around, sorry. Jameson Williams came there from Ohio State and obviously tore the ceiling off college football. Apparently they don't have that this year, at least not yet, but it's Alabama. They recruit 5-star receivers every year. So I'm sure they'll just reload, and then we'll see somebody and be like, oh, okay, he's running a 4.2, and there he goes again. another touchdown. And by that point, it'll be moot. But they play, I'm pretty sure they play Texas in week 1 or week 0, like whatever, because college football does that weird week 0 thing. So they play Texas first. I think they should probably blow the doors off Texas, but it's not like they're playing Colorado State or
they saved the Citadel for like week 11.
So that's right. So I mean, we'll get to find out, I guess, pretty early, at least a decent taste of what this Alabama team can do. But it makes sense that they're obviously rated so high because you just look at the talent on their roster and you can throw a dart at a list of names and you'll hit a
we've done this so many times. Florida State and Alabama week 1 or week 0. Michigan and Alabama week 1 or week 0. USC and Alabama week 1 or week 0. What happens every time? Alabama rolls them.
They ducked Michigan State, though. They were supposed to have a home and home, and then Alabama wanted it to be
in the neutral
at Alabama and then at Jerry World.
Neutral in the South. Yeah, okay. Let's have it be neutral at Lambeau or something. At least bring it up here to the elements, like neutral. Yeah.
Neutral at Ford Field.
Yeah, well, treat it like the Final Four in 2009. It's neutral, but it's at Ford Field.
Right.
All right. Well, speaking of our Spartans and Wolverines, so a little bit meaner to both of us, I think, on this. Right? Wasn't Michigan like 6 in the coaches, and they're 8 in this one, and we were 14 in the coaches, and we're 15 in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a little meaner to both of us in this one.
Yeah. I mean. And we talked about it on when the coaches poll came out and kind of our expectations for both teams. And I still feel like it's just about right for both of these teams. It seems like the AP is a little bit more skeptical about Michigan's defense probably than what the coaches were, because I think that's really the only way that you would dock Michigan. Not even necessarily if you think their defense is going to be bad, but just you don't know because their defense is unproven. And if like you're of the mindset, well, an unproven defense is just a bad defense until it's proven it's not bad, right? That would make sense to me for the small drop there. But I mean, it should be an offense that puts up close to 40 points a game. Like even if they run it as much as they did last year, they have I think it was Pro Football Focus who just rated them like the best offensive line in the country. They have 2 really good running backs with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, and then you have a pretty good complement of receivers. I think Cornelius Johnson is the kid's name, who's one of them who kind of stepped up last year after Ronnie Bell went down, but Ronnie Bell's back. And at least, I mean, I know it's the talk out of practice that you're always going to get. But, of course, Ronnie Bell looks better than ever. It's like he never tore his ACL or whatever happened. And then Andrel Anthony, who was the true freshman last year, who played really well for them. And then one of the best tight ends in the country in Eric Hall. So, a pretty good offense Michigan should have. So, even if their defense is bad, they should still be in most of these games. So I'll let you give your thoughts on Michigan.
I wanted to see, like you said, because we don't know as much about Michigan's defense. I want to see, when are we going to find out about Michigan's defense? Is it going to be early in the season where we're going to see? All right, so here we go with Michigan's schedule. Let me tell you how difficult this thing is. All right, Saturday, September 3rd, Colorado State comes to the Big House. No. All right, the following week, Hawaii comes to the Big House. Okay, no. Next week, after that, the 17th, UConn in the military appreciation game at the Big House. Nope. Okay, well, then the following week, all right, we're starting Big Ten play with Powerhouse Maryland at the Big House. The entire month of September, Michigan goes nowhere. They don't leave Ann Arbor for the entire month until October 1st, when the seasons change and everything starts coming to roost. They have to go to Iowa in a rematch of a very one-sided Big Ten title game where Iowa had no offense whatsoever because they had no quarterback whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that non-quarterback is gone. At least, God, I hope so if you're an Iowa fan, because, man, that boy can't throw the ball. So we're not going to know anything.
Is there a time on that?
No.
Is there a time on
no,
that?
I'm not seeing anything as far as the time.
Okay. I didn't think
the other ones are all noon, except for whatever reason, the Hawaii game is a night game. The second game of the season at the Big House is a 8 p.m. kickoff for Michigan versus the Rainbow Warriors.
Big time week 2 matchup against Hawaii.
We're not going to know anything for the first month.
Like you said,
we're not going to know anything for the first month. They're going to be number 4 in the country by the second week of September, and they're going to have put up 105 points and given up 13. And everyone's going to think this is the best team in the land because they didn't play anybody in the month of September.
I mean, they're probably going to put up closer to like 200 points with all those guys.
No. Sorry, I said first 2 games. I meant 105 points in the first 2 games. Like they're not playing any. Like I don't want to take anything away from Maryland. At least they're the Big Ten, but their defense is not yeah. I mean,
Talia.
Look, Talia's a senior now, right? This is his last year, I think. Yeah. So I mean, this is his last grad. Gas to do something and join his brother in the NFL, and he's gonna ball out. You think he's got to learn some things. He put up plenty of numbers as a junior. Just turn the ball over as well as a junior. So cutting down on those will definitely help Maryland's position. But I don't remember their defense being anything scary last year. So I don't think Michigan's their defense. Yeah, might get tested a little bit by Maryland. Italia's on his game, but we've seen Michigan has no problem going up against Maryland. They haven't really at all. So, including when Talia's been there. So, we're not going to do anything for Michigan as far as how good their defense is in the first month. No chance.
No, I don't think they're going to have a problem with Iowa either. I think they should probably roll to 5-0 or 6-0. The only thing that I guess might get tricky with Iowa is if that's your first road game and it's on the road at night. Then I think it's probably a trap game or a tougher test than, of course, anything that they had seen previously. But even a tougher test than it looks like right now. But if it's like a 12 or a 3:30 kick, I don't expect them to have so much trouble with it. But if it's a night game at Iowa, your first time on the road, I don't know. It's just an environment that I wouldn't.
They got to be contemplating a night game. Because the next week, October 8th, they're at Indiana, and it's at noon. They know what time it's at. They don't know the next game after that, the following week at Penn State. And then they have the bye after Penn State, and they got us. And then at Rutgers, they don't have a time for at Rutgers. But they have the time for Ohio State to end the year. That's always noon. I mean, that's just what they do. It's always a noon kickoff for Michigan and Ohio State. So that one's set in stone. But they don't have a lot of their late ones obviously set, except for whatever reason they know Indiana is going to be at noon.
Yeah, I mean, they DSN, posted a rumor that Michigan State, might be in that game this year. And that'd be at the Big House. So that wouldn't help Michigan State a whole lot, but it'd be cool for it to,
all right, and then we got our Spartans. So right now, according to the AP poll, they're 15th in the country. According to the coaches poll, they're 14th in the country. I don't care either way, considering last year coming into the season, we were 257th in the country. So I'm just stoked that Tuck and this team has gotten us to be, at least at the start of the season, there's some respect on our name. So I'll take that as opposed to what had been happening years before that. And Michigan State's going to get some much quicker tests than Michigan will. Starting at home against Western Michigan and Akron, those aren't the tests that I'm talking about. But then week 3, we got to go to Washington. Now, I don't know how good or bad of a team Washington is yet, but we're traveling week 3 to the complete other side of the country to take on the Huskies. So that's just tougher in general than having to stay at home for the first month of the season. So that should be at least giving us some idea of what these Spartans are going to be. Hopefully we hit it hard and often to start the season just like last year. Kenneth Walker, 75-yard touchdown to the house to start the season for Michigan State. I'm not going to put my expectations that high, Ryan. But, hopefully we're seeing some answers because, again, here we go again with the Michigan State football team in the running game. We got transfers. It's not really in-house. We got guys coming in from Wisconsin and Colorado, and we're going to see, what these guys are able to do. But I think we're going to see some earlier answers from Michigan State as far as what kind of team they are than what Michigan's going to have to deal with because they don't have to deal with anything for that first month of the season.
No, and these guys aren't going to be Kenneth Walker. I'm going to tell you that right now. That was what Kenneth Walker did, in my opinion, is the greatest season for a running back in Michigan State history. And the new transfers, well, I think they can be pretty good. Broussard especially. They're not going to be like what Kenneth Walker was. And Mel Tucker was talking, I think today or yesterday, about the transfers, and he obviously didn't say, hey, these guys aren't as good as Kenneth Walker, but he did talk about it we're just kind of happy we have all of them. He can do some things, where last year I feel it was more obviously this guy's our guy. He's proven it in practice. He's been the man, and that's what we're going to do. So this year I feel like there's a little bit less of that. Just because I think it's not as clear cut because these guys aren't as good as what as what K9 was at Michigan State. And then as far as the defense goes, it seems like there's kind of a lot of variance in where Michigan State was ranked. I think they're probably unranked on some of these AP polls, and the AP poll total voting list is out, and you can find it just on Twitter and see how each of the voters, who they put in their top 25. And Michigan State was unranked in some of those, and one they were as high as 6th. And then there were a lot of variance between are they 18 or are they 24? Or I'm sorry, 8 and 24. So it seems like a lot of people don't really know what to expect from Michigan State this year, and for good reason. They have Peyton Thorne and Jaden Reed coming back, but they lost their Doak Walker winning running back, and then the defense wasn't very good last year, but they have some transfers this year who are hoping to come in and step up. So I think those transfers on the defensive end are going to be even more important than Broussard and Berger, who were the two running back transfers, because you got guys like Jacoby Windman and Aaron Brule who are supposed to come in and really kind of solidify your pass rush and your front seven. And then you brought in Amir Speed from Georgia as well, who hopefully can, if all goes well, right, he's hopefully a starting cornerback on this team, because if he's losing out to any of the guys we had at corner last year, that's probably an issue. But come in and just help that pass defense that it might get a little bit tested against Western Michigan. I feel like Western Michigan always at least has a good passing offense. Not that I think they're going to beat Michigan State or anything, but I think Western Michigan is going to be a team that comes in and likes to throw the ball around. We saw that last year to the extreme when they played Western Kentucky with Bailey Zappi, who I think probably had even close to 450 yards that game. If not more, he just threw it 65 times. So I think that's certainly going to be the recipe to beat Michigan State, and then especially for those two teams like you mentioned, Akron and Western. If you're going to upset Michigan State, you're probably not going to do it by grounding and pounding them. You're probably going to do it by getting behind their secondary and connecting on a couple big plays. So I think we'll probably see that early. And again, not that you can take everything away from how Michigan State's defense played Western Michigan, but you can assess at least the secondary performance a little bit and hey, were they beat? And just the throw wasn't there, because if you got beat and then the quarterback didn't make the throw, well, CJ Stroud is going to make that throw. So how are you going to, you know what I mean? It's how's that going to fare into the year when we get to, our toughest test obviously is going to be Ohio State. But you're right about the Washington game, where Washington wasn't very good last year, but it's still going on the road against the team who last year, fell short of expectations. They were supposed to be pretty good, okay, and they're just really bad. So I guess kind of what Washington team shows up. Are they going to have a bounce back year, or are they just going to kind of lay down again?
I understand why there's confusion around Michigan State, because I don't know what we're going to have defensively at all. I do know this. Our offense better average about 35 points a game if we're going to have a good record, because I think they're going to need every bit of it. That secondary was so bad last year. Look, unless Amir Speed is literally as faster than his last name and can be everywhere at once, I think the secondary is still going to be a travesty this year. It might be better than last year, but that's really not saying much, because I'm pretty sure we were the worst secondary in all of college football, including FCS and D2 and D3, and there might have been a few high school teams in there as well that had better secondaries.
Well, okay, that part I don't know about, but I think we were
It was bad.
Out of
it was real bad. So I understand that
Division
confusion.
FB or whatever.
The front seven is going to have to put in a lot of the work and get to the quarterback very, very quickly, and hope that our secondary was able to hold on to a wide receiver for 3 seconds while our line got to the quarterback. But that offense is going to have to carry the load, and I think we talked about this already, but I think Peyton Thorne's going to have to do more this year. He did plenty last year, and I think he learned and grew in the position. And I think we need to see the fruits of that this year. And I think it has to be a little bit more of, when it was Ringer and Kulkrick, it was a balance a little bit. There was one who was, it was Ringer more than it was Kulkrick, but it wasn't what we saw last year. And I think we need that, because it's too scary to depend on one workhorse like that, because football has injuries happen, and if our running back goes down, if Kenneth Walker went down in like week 8 last year, we're probably not in a bowl game.
Well, I mean, again, just to your point, I know he's not on the team this year, but you just can't expect anybody to do what Kenneth Walker did last year. Like it was honestly such an amazing season that Kenneth Walker put together, and it's the reason Michigan State won 11 games. So you of course just can't.
I don't know if there's a better example of a guy literally being a 1-year wonder. Where, like, when I say this, I mean, he had 1 year. He only had 1 year. There was no coming back for him. So it was 1 year to do what he had to do. And he did it in spades. So, like, I'm trying to think, like Burrow was at LSU before he became the starting quarterback at LSU. So he's not the 1 year. Like, he was there already. So, like, it's not, like, I don't know if there's a better example of 1 year, one shot, getting it done beyond anyone's belief or imagine.
I mean, Cam Newton, right? Was that his first year at Auburn? I know he was at Florida, and then he went to a JUCO because of the laptop.
I thought he had,
but
it might have been.
Like I think it was his own.
I still say Kenneth Walker's year was better.
I thought it was his only Auburn year. Maybe not. Well, okay, nothing. Cam Newton's
no Heisman, no national championship. Still had a better year.
But I see what you're saying.
We're just playing. We're just playing. But yeah, so we'll get an earlier test for Michigan State. Obviously, week 3, they're going out to Washington to play the Dogs, Huskies, Dogs, whatever you want to call them, out there on the West Coast. So that's obviously a different kind of test for the Spartans than anything that Michigan's going to see. And I'm not hating on Michigan's schedule. Props to you. You get to play. You don't got to go anywhere for the whole month of September. That's sweet. I'd wish that on the Spartans, but that's not the case. We'll get an earlier test to see what MSU's about than we will Michigan. I think, I'm expecting Michigan's going to have a pretty damn good year, and I hope we do too. And I hope we have one loss, and it's just to Ohio State. Look, you say it's going to be a test. I think it's an SAT, and we're a 4-year-old with a crayon. Like, that's the kind of test that is like, we're going to fail the hell out of that test. Ohio State's just good. Just too good. I don't know how we do it.
Probably we play Ohio State before we play Michigan, so I doubt we'll see a battle of the undefeated.
Shoot,
again
if we do,
like we got last year,
we're gonna have a lot of fun on this show.
Ohio State's coming.
Yeah,
Ohio State's coming to East Lansing though.
Doesn't always
Home
work
game,
in our
baby.
favor, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll set the world on fire this year. All right. We got to get out of here. We're going to see you guys again. You'll see us again on Friday. We'll be recording that for you guys on Thursday. Thank you for kicking it with Griffin and Bass. As always, Wu-Tang is for the children. We'll see y'all again real soon. Peace.
Boom.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.